time. But I'm sure once you see some of the things that it can do, some of you will be convinced to try and start using it at least. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll get started. So let me just ask in the chat, by a show of ones, let me know if you have used MT4 on your computer. So type some ones if you have, and if you haven't, type some twos. So we have a couple of ones, couple of twos, a lot of twos. Okay, this is good. So this is the right place. Okay, so let me know if you can see my screen. Just type a 3 in the chat if you can see my screen. Okay, good. So I'm going to set up my screen to look like what MT4 usually looks like when you first start out on the computer. And then I will go from there. So usually when you start up your MT4, it'll look something like this. Maybe it'll have 4 screens up, 4 different charts up, right? And it'll look like this with a lot of indicators. So the first thing I try to do is just clear it out completely and then customize the chart to look like how I want it to look like, all right? So the first thing I do is close all but one chart, right? So I will click on the X at the top right corner of the charts that I want to close, and then on the one that I want to customize, I will click the maximize button. So that's the first step. Next thing I want to do is get rid of all these indicators and then customize the colors of the candles to something that I want it to look like, right? So the menu that you get comfortable with is the one that comes up when you right click on a blank spot on the chart. So first thing I do is right click, click on properties, which is at the bottom, and it will bring up, no, actually, you know what? I said I want to get rid of the indicators. So let's do that first. So I'll right click again on the blank spot on the chart, and then you see this option right here that says indicators list. I click on that, and it brings up the list of the indicators that I have on the chart. So now I'm going to delete each of them one by one. So we see we have the MACD. I click on that and I delete it. Next one is the stochastic oscillator. I click on it just to select it, and then I hit delete. And this you have to do one by one, right? So once I close, you can see that I have deleted the indicators, right? Okay, then the next thing is I see this grid at the back, and I feel like it's too busy, right? So I want to get rid of the grid. So again, the first thing I do, right click, properties, and on this window, I'm going to go, can everyone see the window that pops up when I right clicked? No, okay, I thought so. Okay, let me do this. I'll stop share for a second. I need to share my whole desktop. Hold on one second. Okay. Now can you, let me see. Now can you see the properties window that comes up? Yes, okay, perfect. Sorry about that. All right, so now what we're going to do is get rid of the grid. So the way to do that is to come to the Common tab, right? And you can see in this section here that we have show grid checked. So I'm going to click on that to uncheck it. And now I click OK, and you see the grid disappear. Right? So next thing we're going to do is customize the candles, the colors of the candles. So again, right click on any blank spot on the chart, properties, and let's go back to colors. Now this tiny window here will show you exactly what it'll look like as you're changing it. So the first thing I do is focus on the border of the candles. So which is just the edge of the candlesticks, right? So bar up is usually green, right? So I don't like the bright lime color. So I'm going to find a different green, preferably a lighter one, but not as bright as the lime. So right here, I've selected medium sea green. Select that. So next thing I do is find the bowl candle, which goes with bar up. So bowl candle is right here, right? So I'm gonna click on bowl candle, and this time I'm gonna find a slightly darker green. Okay, so now we've taken care of the bowl candles. Now let's take care of the bear candles. So I'll start with bar down. So for bar down, I'll select that and select maybe a brighter red. And then bear candle, I usually do a darker red. The reason I do that is I want the border of the candles to be a little bit brighter than the body of the candles. That's just my preference. But you can choose it. You can choose whatever colors you want, basically. So I don't usually change anything else unless sometimes I use the line graph, but I leave those colors the same. So now we can see what it looks like. We click OK, and you see that it has changed. Okay, so we're making some progress. So from here, before I even go further, since the process to change the candles takes so long, what I do is save this as a template. And what that does is makes sure that if I ever lose the settings of my candle colors, I will be able to access this setup from a template. And the way to access the templates, there's two ways to do it. There's a toolbar right here at the top. I mean, an icon on the toolbar that is for templates. So I don't know if you can see me highlight at the top here. So this is where you go, and as you can see, I have a whole lot of templates just based on the many trainings that I do. But this is where I would have the template. So let's call this, let's give this a name. So the way to save the template is I would come up here. Oh, that came up fast. Let's do that again. I come up here, hit save template, and then I give the template a name. So now I'll give it, what do I give it? Team Kenya training. And then I hit save. So now if I ever lost this, so let me just select a different template. Let's say that. Okay, so this is one of the templates I have. So let's say by mistake, I brought up this template, but I want to go back to Team Kenya template. I'll just come up here. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me do it from here. So I'm right-clicking on a blank spot. I go to template. Then now I look for Team Kenya template. There it is, right here, Team Kenya training. And I click on it, and you see it brings back the settings I had for that. Okay, so now that we have that, I see some of the questions, and I'll answer them about installing MT4 on a computer. I'll go over that towards the end. Okay, so now what is the next thing once you get MT4? The first thing you want to do when you're getting into a trade, you want to know what pair you're going to be trading, right? So as you can see, this panel right here is called the Market Watch, and that has a list of all the currency pairs that are available for the particular broker that you're using. Okay, so you can decide to show everything that they have to offer, all the instruments. Like this particular broker I'm using has it, as you can see, it has some gold, it has US 30, it has you see some stocks here listed. So depending on your broker, you'll have a list of different instruments that you can trade. Okay, so one way a very simple way to get to the charts that you want to trade is, like, let's say Miss Lillian called a trade on USD JPY, and I want to bring that chart up. Fast way to bring it up is just to click on USD JPY, drag it on here, and there we have it. We have USD JPY on the chart. Okay. If there's another pair called, click on it. Let's say it's Euro GBP, drag it, and there you have it. You have it on the chart. Okay. Now, what if you wanted to, after you got into the trades, you wanted to monitor both the trades that you're in and see their progress both on the same screen? What you would do, instead of dragging a pair onto the chart, you would right-click and select Chart Window. So when you do that, I'll just do it and it'll open with one of my default templates. So let's just go back and make this the Team Kenya training template. Okay. So now I've opened two charts, Euro GBP and Euro AUD. And you can see down here, I have two tabs now, right? Two tabs. One is Euro AUD and the other is Euro GBP. So when you have this, now you can lay them out on the screen where you can see both of them. And the way to do that is this icon right here, that's the Arrange Windows icon. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but this icon here that looks like 4 screens together, and you click on it, it automatically arranges the pairs that are listed here in a way that they're equally spread out on the screen. So now we have two pairs that we can monitor all at the same time. So if you are in trades, you can look at them at the same time. All right. So that's the Market Watch and bringing up different pairs. The next thing you want to know is the time frames. So most times when traders make a call or to give trade ideas, they tell you what time frame they're getting in. And so the time frame section is right here. So you see the M1, M5, M15, M30, H1, H4, D1, W1, and MN. So that's for from the 1 minute all the way to the month time frame. So now with these two open, you always want to make sure that you're highlighting the pair in question, or the pair that you're looking to work on, make sure it's highlighted, and you can see this place right here is highlighted in blue. That shows that this is the currency pair that I'm currently working on. So now if I change the time frame, it'll change the time frame for this Euro GBP. And if I click on this one, now you see the blue highlight is on Euro AUD. Now if I change the time frame, it'll change the time frame for Euro AUD. So you always want to make sure that you're highlighting the pair that you actually want to work on. And that's important because, you know, when you're getting in trades and putting in the take profits and stop losses, you just want to make sure you're accessing the right one. Now, if you feel like it'll confuse you, then you can maximize the one that you're currently working on. And then when you're done and you want to monitor them both, you go back to the arrange windows and it'll bring them both up like this. And that way you can work on one at a time. Okay, so now we know where the time frames are. And so the next thing we want to do, I'll just go back to maximize one. So the next thing we want to do is know how to get into trades, right? So as you can see in the top left corner, we have the sell and the buy. So you have the ask and the bid price here. So if you were to get into a buy on this Euro GBP currency pair, you would just hit buy on this button right here. So let's say, you know what, I'll just say, let's go for a sell right now. So someone called a sell, or you analyze and got a sell. Okay, this comes up the first time. And this is important. So this is a disclaimer that you have to accept the conditions of this. This just tells you that once you click on those buttons, you're responsible for your trade. Because what they realize is this button being in this position, you can actually click on it by mistake because it's so easily accessible. If I'm moving my mouse around and I just click on buy, it will get you into the trade. So that's what that disclaimer is about. So always be careful of that. All right. So when you're getting in the trade, the first thing you want to note is this right here is your lot size. So by default, when you start up MT4, I think it says it's a 1.0 lot size. So you always want to check that and change that to whatever your lot size is supposed to be. So now let's get in the sell. So I just hit sell. So now, as you can see, we are already in blue. I'm going to delete these sell limits here. Okay, so at the moment I hit sell, if you look at the section at the bottom here, we can see that you have information on the trade that you're currently in. So it tells you, first of all, the balance, and then it has all the other information, the equity, the margin, the free margin, the margin level, right? And then on this first row, you have the details of the specific trade that you're in. So these columns are pretty much self-explanatory, but I'll go through all of them. So time right here is the time in which you got in the trade. The type is whether it's a sell or a buy. The size is the lot size, right? And then the symbol, again, that's just the current is the price, your entry level, your EP. So you want to always note that, because if you're calculating your take profits and stop loss, it'll be based on the entry price. And then SL would be stop loss when you put it. TP is the take profit. And then price here. So notice you have two prices. The first one is your entry level, and notice it's not moving. And then this second one is where price currently is, and it will be moving. Okay? And then commission is what the commission that the broker is going to take on that particular trade. And then profit here you can see is whether you're in profit or loss. So that number keeps moving. Okay, so this next step, I'll show you the way most people will start off doing it and what most people who use the phone are familiar with. And then I'll show you the advantage of, one of the advantages of using the computer in this case.
Paul,
Okay?
can I interrupt you for just a second?
Sure.
So for some reason on my MetaTrader 4, it's not showing me, it's not allowing me to go forward, like not allowing me to see the past. Like I only see so many bars on it. Like I don't know what I pressed, but
Okay, that's a quick one. So do you see these icons right here? I'm gonna highlight them at the top. One looks like a play button, and then the other one looks like a button with an arrow pointing backwards. Do you see that? Do you see it, Stacy? On your toolbar, it would be right next to the Arrange Windows icon.
yeah, I pressed that. It didn't. Okay.
So you want to uncheck. You want to uncheck the scroll the chart to the end of ticking income. So because that's forcing your charts to scroll forward. So every time you try and go back, it'll push you forward, right? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, like, oh my God, now it's totally messed up. Oh my God.
we can set up. I'll set up
fine.
some time and help you with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so what I wanted to show is one of the I was going to show the basic way of putting a stop loss and take profit, and then I'll show you the advantage of the computer. So what most people are familiar with is, so the modify your trade information, right? And the way to do that is you right click on the actual trade itself from this section at the bottom here is called the terminal. So you right click on it and then you hit modify, and then it brings up this window. So you see here on the right hand side you can put in the take profit, and the left hand side you can put in the stop loss. Okay, so an easy way, what I do to start is I just copy. If you see this button that says copy, I just copy whatever number is in there. So that's the current price. And then it puts the number in here. Then I calculate my pips. I change the number based on, just the numbers that I want to change. So I'm in a cell. Let's say I want to go for 10 pips. Remember, I said this part is important. So you can see here, this is the price that I entered at. And let's say I want to go 10 pips from my entry point, right? So my entry point is 89338. I'm going to go for 10 pips. So 89238 is going to be 10 pips. And when I hit that, you see that it puts the take profit line on here. And then if I want to put my stop loss, I go again, I right click on the trade, go to modify, and this time I'm focusing on this section here. So I'll just copy a number in real quick. And then again, based on my entry price, I want to calculate a stop loss. So let's say I'll put a stop loss 10 pips from my entry. So that would be 89438, and then hit modify. So now you can see my stop loss and the take profit. Okay, so That is the common way of doing that setup. So what I'm going to do right now is delete the take profit and delete the stop loss, and then show you one of the advantages of the computer. So the way I can delete this take profit is I make sure I put my cursor on the line itself, right click, and then just select cancel take profit. And my screen is freezing. Okay, there we go. It canceled that. And then here, I will right click on the stop loss and hit cancel stop loss. Now we don't have a stop loss, and notice here in the terminal, stop loss disappeared, take profit disappeared. Okay, so now what I do is I put in my entry. So I do the buy or sell, right? And then I just click, make sure I hover over the line, and then I just drag it to where I want my take profit to be. Now, if you notice on the left-hand side, right here, we can see how many pips I'm moving from the entry. Now, this could be deceiving because these are not actually in pips. These are actually in points. So you want to write this down, that 10 points is equal to 1 pip. Okay, so when we're adjusting this, just realize that these are not in pips, these are in points. So 100 pips will be equal to, when it says 100 pips here, it's 100 points, which is equal to 10 pips. So that's the point that can be confusing because it actually says pips here, okay? So these are points. So what I'm doing is I'm just dragging the line to 100, which is 10 pips, and then I release it, and I've set my take profit. Same thing with stop loss, but this time I'm dragging the stop loss up because I'm in a sell, right? So I drag this up here, and as you can see, the numbers changing on the left-hand side here. So I drag that to 100 also because that's what my stop loss was. So there you go. So it's as simple as that. So instead of doing the modify, taking time to do the modify, the calculations, all you need to do is drag down, take profit, drag up, stop loss, and you're already in the trade. Okay. Then another favorite of when I teach this is what is known as a trailing stop. Now this one can be kind of complicated, but I'll just go over the basics of it. So let's say you got into a trade late at night and you're going to go to bed, let it run overnight. You have your stop loss set, but you want your stop loss to move either to break even or in profit if price goes towards your TP. So in this case, we're looking for price to go down this way, right? So as you can set what is known as trailing stop. And the way to do that is right click on your stop loss, select trailing stop, and then you see here we have the points again. So remember, 10 points is equal to 1 pip. So 50 points will be equal to 5 pips, okay? So 45 points is equal to 4.5 pips. 40 points is 4 pips, going all the way to 15 points, which is 1.5 pips. So when you select this, you're telling, let's say we select 50 points. We're telling the system that when price moves 50 points or 5 pips in profit, I want the stop loss to trail it from at a distance of 5 pips. So I'll go ahead and select that. Now, since we're in the negative, we might not actually see it in action, but what it would do is, let's say price moved into profit by 5 pips, let's say 5 pips was somewhere here, right? You would see this stop loss automatically move on its own to the entry point. And then if price goes to 10 pips, it will move automatically to 5 pips. So it'll automatically trail price by a distance of 5 pips. Okay? So that is something that if you can learn how to use, it can be very beneficial in terms of letting the system work for you instead of constantly dragging your stop loss manually. You know, so I know Lillian gives a lot of trades that go hundreds of pips, so it'll be a nice feature to have when you're, say, in 30 pips in profit and you want to trail it. You can just set your automatic trailing stop loss maybe at a 20 pip distance and then just let it ride. Okay, so we'll leave this one running for a little bit, and hopefully it can go into profit while we're still talking, and you can actually see the stop loss in profit in action. I mean the trailing stop loss in action. So the next thing I want to go over, I'll just go to this other chart, is let's address that feature that advances the chart. Okay, so now you can see that right now I can freely go to the past. I'm just clicking and dragging and I'm going in the past, right? Now by default, when you start MT4, you have this icon right here. It looks like it has a play button on it with a y-axis and an x-axis. If you click on it, or if you hover over it, it'll tell you what it is. It says scroll the chart to the end. So when I click that, you can see it automatically advances the chart to the end. Now if I try and go back, it ends up snapping back, okay? And then the one next to it is, when I uncheck it, you see it puts current price all the way at the edge. But when I check it, it gives you some space here so that you can analyze your chart better and see kind of the space in the future. Okay? So that's an important one to know because it can cause a lot of frustration. Okay? The next one I want to go over is the different type of charts. And that's this little section here. So right now we selected candlesticks, but some people I know use the line chart to do their analysis, to draw their support and resistance before they come to the candlestick chart. So if I click on this, you see it tells me what the line chart would look like. So I know some people use this to see the highs and lows a little bit better, okay? Now, all I need to do is click on the candlestick chart to go back to the candlestick. And then this one is the bar chart. I don't think many people use it. I use it sometimes, but that's just another form of displaying price, okay? Now, you see me zooming in and out. This is a nice one that I should tell most people, because there's a zoom in and out button right here, the plus and the minus. But a faster way that I do it is I come to where you can see the dates right here. You have to position your cursor right in the middle there. And then I just click and drag, to pinch and zoom. I feel that's easier than looking for the plus button and the minus button. So that's the zooming in this way. And then you can do the same on the the right-hand side here where price is by, pinching it that way, clicking and dragging it and increasing the size that way, okay? Okay, so that's that. Next thing I want to focus on is the drawing tools. And that is this whole section here. Now I've customized this to add a few other tools that don't come with the default, but I'll show you how to do that too. But let's just go over some of the basic tools. So the first one is the arrow, which is what you're seeing right now. And then the next one is the crosshair. Now, this you can use to calculate pips. I mean, to see the distance in pips. So let's say this bullish move right here, we want to calculate from the bottom to the top of that. So what I'll do is I'll line up the crosshair to the bottom of that bottom wick, click on that, and then move up. So I'm clicking and holding and moving up. So as you can see, there's some numbers moving up and down as I move, right? So there's 3 numbers. The first number, I don't know if you can see it, but the first number says 2, right? And that number is just representing the number of candles that I'm moving across. So you see, if I stay above the first candle, it says 0. And I move to the next one, it says 1. I move to the next one, it says 2. So it's just telling you how many candles you've moved across. The second one is the pips. And again, it's listed in points. So right now it's saying, let me go to the top here. It says 1,000, oh, where do you go? 1,987. Okay, so this is listed in points. So we're going to take away the last number. So instead of 1,987, we're going to look at it as 198. Okay, so again, remember 10 points is equal to 1 pip. So all you need to do is divide by, just take out the last number and you'll have the number of pips. Okay, so this would be a 198 pip move. So that's how you measure. Then the last number is just telling you the level of price. So the last number at this point says 1.68910. That's what price would be if you lined that up with what price is on the edge there. Okay, so again, that's the crosshair, click, drag, look at the number. So a quick way to measure your pips. Okay, then the next one is vertical line, which that's just self-explanatory. If you click on it and let's say you want to mark where price peaked, then you do that. All right, so next one is the horizontal line, which is a very common one used for support and resistance. So again, let me just do and mark the low, the swing low here. I click, and then let's say we want to mark a swing high here. I click. So now you can see the lines that I've marked here, the horizontal, and you can use those as support and resistance, right? Now, if you try to move this line as is, it won't let you move it. You have to activate it in order to move. So what you're doing is activating edit mode to allow you to move it up and down. So the way to do that is just hover over the line itself and then double click. So when you double click, I don't know if you notice, these dots appeared on the edges. Okay? And if I double click again, you see the dots have disappeared. So what shows you you're in edit mode is those dots, right? So I've double clicked again, now it's in edit mode. So what I can do now is I can just move the line as I please. And then when I want to lock it and not want to move it by mistake, I just double click it again and the dots have disappeared. So now if I try to move it, I can't until I double click it to activate the edit mode. Okay. Then a quick trick, like if you're doing multiple lines, instead of coming up here, clicking on it and selecting, you can actually hold the control button on your keyboard and click and drag one of the lines and it'll copy. It's like creating a clone. So I can just keep doing that, just make sure it's in edit mode, and I just keep doing that, and I can clone multiple lines, okay? Now to delete them, you have to enable edit mode, right click, and you can just delete. Double click, enable edit mode, delete. Double click, right click, delete. Double click, right click, delete. Okay, so that's the horizontal lines. And now with all the lines, you can do that to enable edit mode and delete them. So another common one is the trend line. Okay, so I'll click on this, and by default, it does something like this, where it can be hard to control. So let me double click and get rid of it, delete. So the first thing you want to do is you select it, start at the point that you want to start your trend line, click, and then drag towards where you want to line it up. And the further you are from where you started, the easier it'll be to control the trend line. Okay, so let's say I want to line it up with this top here. I just move my cursor there and release. Now, again, it's locked. So if I want to adjust it, I double click, and now I see the dots along the lines. And you see there's 3 dots. So the middle one, you move the whole trend line, right? The top one, you just move this edge. And this third one, you move this side of it, okay? Now, if you draw a trend line, some people don't like that it stretches to infinity like this. So what I can do is just shorten it to where I want it. So I'm gonna right click and then select trend properties. And you see under the parameters tab, this ray section is checked. So I uncheck that, and now I close it. So now I can just control the actual length of my trend line. If I don't want it to go that far in the future, I just put it right there. And then as price continues, I can keep adjusting it, right? Okay, so that's the trend line. These others, let me see, which is an important one. Okay, the fibs. So this is another one that I know a lot of people use, the Fibonacci. Okay, so I'll click on this and just give a quick example. Actually, first, let me delete all these lines and have a clear screen. Okay, so I'll select the Fibonacci retracement and I'll draw it from top to bottom. So now I'm clicking at the top, dragging towards where price went to find the swing low. So as I move it like this, you see you can line up the levels however close you want to the price, or if you want it lined up at the edge. I usually like it a little bit like this, right? So it doesn't go all the way to the edge and confuse me with the other numbers. So it doesn't, I don't have to put the actual point right where I want it to end here. I can just line it up because I can see the line. So I can just line it up with the level I want and leave it right there, right? So these are the default levels that come with the Fibonacci retracement. Let me just try and zoom in here a bit. Okay, so we can customize these. So I'm going to double click. Now this is a tricky part. You want to double click on this yellow line to activate the edit mode. And then now I right click on it and I select Fibonacci properties. So here is where you have the levels, okay? If you wanted to add any new levels, you can add levels by just hitting add here. And if there's a level you have that, you know, is not a level you like to use that is not there, then you can 0. Why is that not working? 0.88 something. I know some people use something like that. Let's just say 886 for now. And then that would be 88.6%. And then I click OK. And now you see it added a new level there. So if you use that a lot and there's different levels you want to, I know some educators use different levels, you would edit that way. So let's go back to the properties. I want to show you a quick trick here. And then I won't go over this fib levels too much here. So some people use the levels as take profit levels or stop loss levels, however, you know, entry levels. So when you draw the fibs, it would be nice to have, instead of just the percentage level, it would be nice to have the price at that level so that you can just look at it and know what price to put in your trades, right? So a trick to do that is, let's say 61.8 right here. We want to know what price is at that level. What you do is you come in here to the description, and this can be done on your phone too. Come to the description, put a space, open brackets, put the percentage sign, and then put the dollar sign, and then close the brackets and hit OK. So now you notice it put the price right next to the level. Okay, so now you don't have to draw a line there to see what price is at that level. You can just see it right off the Fibonacci level. I see the question about what are fibs and what are they used for. This is more of just using the MT4 platform. If you're with IM, there's some educators that talk about the Fibonacci levels. That there's some good videos on that. I know Manny Quinones talks about that pretty much on his channel. Okay. All right. So that's that for the fibs. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So what else did I want to go over? Let's look at these other panels here really quick, and then I'll talk about placing indicators. So the next panel I want to talk about is this panel right here. So this gives you access to almost everything you need in terms of the indicators and knowing what account you're logged into. Now, on MT4, you can log into multiple accounts from different brokers, right? I know right now most brokers have their own version of, their own branded version of MT4, but you can actually log into multiple ones. So as you can see here, I opened up the accounts tab, and you can see I have multiple accounts from different brokers. I have CoinX, Hugo's Way, LMFX, and KOT. You know, so as long as you have the credentials and it's a valid MT4, you can do that. Okay. So that's the account section. Then indicators, this is where you would have a list of all your indicators. Okay, so there's some that come by default, and then there's some that you can actually install indicators. There's so many indicators all over the internet. Okay, and so the basic ones you will find under these different categories. So there's trend indicators, common ones. There's oscillators. Oscillators are the indicators that appear at the bottom, like the RSI, the MACD, and so forth. And then volume indicators, and just all these other ones here. I'm trying to see. Yeah, most of these are basic ones, but there are some that I've actually downloaded on my own, so we won't go over those ones. Okay, and then another place to access your indicators is this icon right here, which is, it has a F and a plus next to it. Okay, so then when you click on it, it brings up this menu, and then you can see the same categories that you see at the bottom here are here. You have trend, oscillator, volume, you know, and then custom. The ones that you download, it'll create a whole list of them that are custom indicators. So let's start by adding an indicator that is popular. Let's go for the RSI, okay? So I'm clicking on this, I hit OK, and we can see the RSI pops up here. So these are not the default colors that come up when you first get it. These are my own custom colors, but all I did is, let me bring up the properties. And the way to do that is just right click on the line itself, and then you see RSI properties, click on that, and then you look at all the different tabs to see what you can customize. So parameters, you can see style says white, so that's the color of my line. I can change it to a different color. I can change the thickness of the line, and then I hit OK, and now you see it gave me a different color line, right? Okay, so that's how you add indicators. If you use the cloud, you can come up here. The cloud is a trend indicator. I select trend and then Ichimoku, and these are my custom colors. So you can change all these colors before you actually put it on the chart. So these are the colors I put for my cloud indicator, and then when you click on it, you know, this is what you get. Okay. Now I'll be sharing with Lillian a video I did that goes over in detail how to customize the colors of this specific indicator and a few other things that I went over, so that those who need access to that and to watch it will do that. And then also this, I believe this is being recorded, so you can go over some of the details on this. And we can always do more sessions where we can go more in depth for those who are familiar with most of the things I've talked about today. We could always do another session where we go more in depth on MT4. Okay, so now we've hit the top of the hour. I'm going to stop for now and just try and address some of the questions that came in, and then we'll see if we need to continue further. Okay, so okay, let me see. Going back to the questions. All right, so how do we install MT4 on computer, Windows? How do we install MT4 on a Mac? Okay, so let me see. Give me 1 second here. If I can show. Okay. So let's say your broker that you've decided to go with is KOT4X. So I went to their website. So if you went to Hugo's Way, if you went to CoinX, whichever broker you went to, they will have an option for you to download the MT4. So I'm on a Mac right now, so I'll explain the Mac download after this. But for those with PCs, which is most people, Like for example here, they have a download for all the different platforms. Even before you sign in, they have an option for you to download. So you would go here and the Windows, you download, it'll give you a file. You just go through the installation process, right? And then it'll appear on your desktop. Okay, that's the first step. Next step would be get your login credentials from the broker, which you would do when you log into your dashboard. They'll have an option for you to create an account, whether it's a demo or a live account. You would create that, and then you would get an email sent to you that has your credentials. So I always advise everyone to start with a demo when you're testing out a broker to see how it works, and also for practice. Everyone should have a demo account. Okay, so once you do that, you get your login credentials, you would come to your MT4, load it up, and initially you won't see any of the charts live because you will not be connected to any broker system, right? So what you would do is come to File, click on that, and then select Open an account. Even if you already have an account open, this is what you want to start with, open an account, okay? Then here, you'll have a window that looks like this, and it'll list, you'll see a few different brokers listed, and you should already have the name of the broker that you downloaded the MT4 from on there. But if you don't, you would have to scroll down to the bottom and add their name here. So let's say I was looking for Hugo's Way. I would just type Hugo's and search, and then it would bring up a list. You see, I have Hugo's Way already here, right? So then it shows it live in color, and then I would select it and then hit next. I'm not going to do that now, but that's what I would do. Okay, let me just do this for KOT demo. And then I would go next. And then the next thing you want to do is put a check mark in, or highlight this section that says existing trade account, because you would have already created an account from your broker, okay? And you would already have the credentials. So you'd click on that and then type in the credentials that your broker sent to your email in here for login and password. And then you always remember to save the password here so you don't always have to keep going back to enter your password. Then once you're done with that, hit finish, and what will show you that you're connected, there'll be a sound that plays that shows you you're connected, and the first time you'll probably hear something like incoming mail or something like that. And then you look at the bottom right here, and it'll show some movement with the numbers, right? And it shows you that you're connected to their servers. If it doesn't connect, you'll see something like, if you put in the wrong password or wrong username, it will show you something like invalid account, not connected, some kind of message like that. But when you see the numbers moving and the green and red icon right there moving, then you know you're connected, okay? Now for the Macs, not every broker has a version of MT4 for the Mac. So what I did is I went to, I'll just type it in the chat, xm.com. They're a broker too, but I just go there to get their version of MT4 for a Mac computer. So go to xm.com, enter, it loads up, and then you go to platforms, right? So I click on platforms, and then you see you have all options here for the Mac, PC, All right, so this is the one I go for. And you click on it, download it, and it'll appear on your desktop. And then you do the same thing. So just because you downloaded it from XM doesn't mean you have to have XM as your broker, right? So for me, this version of MT4 that I have is from XM, but notice all my brokers that I've logged in are different, okay? So that answers that question. Are there any questions on that, the installation? Any further question? I'll just pause for a second. Did that answer the question about the installation for the person who asked it? Okay. All right, so the next one I see here is how to install MT4. So we did that. Linking MT4 desktop to your broker. We just did that. How to draw trend lines and save indicators. Save indicators. Okay. So the save indicators, like let's say we had this, the RSI, we have the Ichimoku. Let's say we use those. And then, yeah, let's say that's it. Okay, and now you want to save this template so that every chart you open up has this template to start and you don't have to keep adding and customizing. You would right click, go to template, save template, and then if you want it to be the first template that opens up on every chart, then you give it the name default. And what that does is every time you open up a new chart, it'll open up with that layout of indicators as the default. If you don't want it to be the default and you just want it to be a template that you occasionally look at that has specific indicators, then you can give it a different name. You can see here I have a whole bunch of different templates with different purposes, and they all have different indicators on them. Okay, so that's where you give the name. And then once, I'm not going to save it, but once you save it, then you always have a list of the templates. When you right click, go to template, you always have them all here, so you can just load them. Okay, so when you just select them, you load them. If you, like say, I select a random one like that, it'll load it. Then I come back and select the one we started with, and it'll load this one back. Okay, so that's the indicators. How to use trailing stop loss to secure profit. I think we went over that. Can you set multiple take profits, TP1, TP2? Okay, so you cannot set multiple take profits on one trade. All you have to do is, okay, we have someone marking up some stuff. Hold on 1 second. That's so funny.
Okay, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just seeing some, you seeing the scribbling on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely not me, but I guess someone is trying to be funny. Unless there's a question. Okay. I think I've disabled it, but I don't know how to clear it. Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Okay. So, what is the next question? Yeah, we can't set multiple take profits. What you'd have to do is you monitor your trade after you hit TP1, then you adjust your, as you're approaching to hit TP1, you adjust it to the next TP level. But that's how you do it. There's no way to just put multiple take profits at the same time. Okay. So laptop, I can't right click. How do I delete in the bar? I'm not sure, James, I understand that question. You can't right click. How do I delete in the bar? Could you expound on that question, James? Or did you resolve the issue? Okay, I don't know if James is still on there. Okay, so I think I covered most of the questions. Is there anything else anyone would like to ask, or? What do you think, Lillian?
Guys, does anyone have a question? We can wrap up the session. If anyone has a question, going one.
I always have questions, Paul. We can talk later.
Okay, yeah, we can actually set something up right after this, so I'll let you know.
Anyone? Team Kenya? Okay, Zach, you've raised your hand. Zach, okay, let me unmute you. Wait.
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you for the chance and thank you for the training. Yes, just wondering, how accessible is this for a totally blind person, maybe using a screen reader, like VoiceOver or even JAWS or NVDA on a PC or MacBook?
That is a very good question. I've not actually looked into that, but I will definitely look into that for you, Zach, and then I'll get back to you on that for sure. But I'll look into what options are there for that. Great question.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Zach. Anybody else? All good,
Okay.
just need to practice. Okay.
Yep, that's important. You just,
okay.
the practice will help a lot. So what I'll do is we'll probably just have to set up another session, and I wanted to go, every time I go over this, I want to try and go over as much as possible, but I never get to do everything I want to do. I'd like to go over the phone MT4 just for those who are.
Okay.
But I know that most people start off on the phone. So I find that a lot of the things I teach on the computer, most people, are not familiar with. So just let me know in the chat by typing some twos if you learned something new or if this was helpful. Or threes if it wasn't helpful. Okay. Okay, good. So a lot of people learned something new. That's great. So I'll get with Lillian and just set up more sessions like this to go in detail. So we'll have like sort of an intro one that covers the basics, then a more detailed one, or maybe one with just Q&A where it's open for anyone to ask anything about MT4. And last time I did TradingView, so we can just have a session where we combine both of them and just do a Q&A session on everything. But yeah, this is definitely something I'll keep on doing as long as you guys want me to do it.
All right. Thank you very much, Paul. I think we can wrap up now. I know you've sacrificed to be here, and I don't want us to take any more time because I know you're a busy person. But thank you very much. Really, really honored to always have you support the Kenya team with your knowledge and skills in trading, and we don't take it for granted. So, guys, if we can just put some amazing fire emojis in the chat for Paul as we wind up, as we leave the meeting room. Thank you guys as well for those guys who made it to the call today. I really appreciate your presence, and hopefully we'll keep learning as we go along. So thanks again. This video will be available for those people who didn't make it, so you can share with your teams. So thanks again, Paul. Thank you very much. And I think we can have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you again. And thanks everyone for the support, and let's keep growing as traders. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Linda.